101.3 Rpp FM.
It's Saturday morning, just after 9, and that means it's time for the 2018 edition of the Bendigo Bank Footy Show. In a tradition that dates back 30 years, created by the legend, the doyen and the voice of local footy, Andrew Topun Kelly, it's time to get off the bench, pull up the socks and pay attention, because here's your host, Neil Custerson.
Good morning everybody and welcome to the Rpp Footy Show. Once again proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. And as always, Michael Voss, welcome to the Footy Show.
Thanks Neil, great to be here.
And to Tony Blackford as well. Blackers, how are you?
Yeah, great Neil. It's going to be a lot better day today than this time last week, mate.
It was terrible footy weather, wasn't it, mate?
Terrible footy weather last week, strong winds and gale force rain.
No, it was terrible for footy. And also this week we're introducing Simon McAvoy from the Leader newspaper group, who's a star in his own right. Welcome to the Rpp Footy Show, mate. How are you?
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, good to be here. So looking forward to another good round of footy.
Been around for a long time, Simon, haven't you?
Yes, and done pretty well to avoid this sort of thing, but here I am, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, obviously yourself and your great mate, Toey, haven't missed too much over a long time covering local sport, mate. So you've obviously a Langwarrin man yourself, like Toey. Had a great career so far in cricket.
Yeah, I'm a Langwarrin cricketer, so and take a bit of an interest in the footy club. But you could say that I'm a Langwarrin person, definitely. Yeah.
Well, you've paid your dues, mate. 150 games for Langwarrin. He's hit over 4,500 runs, and he's averaging 30 as a left-hand opener. So he certainly holds his own, doesn't he, as a sportsman?
He certainly does. Yes.
So
been around a long time.
No, it's been good. So yeah, local sport, you just can't beat it. Really, it's fantastic local sport, especially footy. You know, it's a great community sport. Everyone gets behind it. And
got some some interesting scoops already for us, Simon. If you want to fire away there, mate.
I've looked around and spoken to a few coaches over the last few days, and there's a bit of news around, a bit of light-hearted stuff, and a bit of hard news. But I think one of the most positive stories so far. It's only early, but one of the most positive stories has been Tyab. They've improved, there's no doubt. They're zipping too, but really, that doesn't tell the full story. Club insiders say that with a bit of luck with some injuries, they probably should be 2-0. But it's not all going that well for them. Unfortunately, their new coach, Aaron Pacey, he's...
Particularly man-on-man. Speaking of Scotty Beale, he said in round one he thought that they were not extremely physical, but yeah, good old-fashioned one-on-one football, that's the word.
A few games after that, so... a chance for them to perhaps get back to the even part of the ledger at maybe 3-3 after 6 rounds.
Well, those two latter games you've mentioned, Vossi, are definitely...
They'll go in as favourites in those two.
They're definitely winnable games. I mean, if they hold their form, but as you say, week by week...
Well, it's week by week, and you just talk about what Simon said. They can't afford injuries to top-end talent.
Well, Aaron's brought a number of players over with him, hasn't he, this year? So they've got about, 6 or 7 new players in the Tyab squad, and... obviously, they've hit the ground running in the first 2 weeks.
That's
they've improved dramatically. And as you said, a 6-goal lead at three-quarter time against Hastings. And what a ripping job they've done to come back in the last.
All you've got to look at is their percentage is 87.5 after 2 rounds. And look at that at crib point at 36.36. Tyre probably the last few years probably wouldn't have even had a percentage at that at even 36 over the last few seasons after 2 rounds. To have a percentage after 87.5, they are well and truly on the right track, Gabby supporters. Massive game for your club today. Get down and support them.
Nip, nip.
Well said, Bossy.
So, look, speaking of injuries, and, unfortunately injuries have really hit some teams, and the latest one last week was a really good young player, a Seaford young star, Isaac Nippard. He made his senior debut for the Tigers last Saturday, and would you believe it, he did his knee. So he suffered a suspected season-ending knee injury, which is a real blow for him and for Seaford, because he won their under-19 best and fairest last season. So
that's a real shame.
Sad, yeah.
That follows on from the injury that the Hastings midfielder from WA that came across.
Full forward,
Yeah, he came across and got an injury.
Injury as well. Knee injury.
I think Josh Stokes from Seaford, the Seaford captain, he did a ACL first minute of the first practice game, unfortunately, as well. So, so it's a bit around. But a little bit light-hearted up at Bomb Beach. Trent Dennis Lane's teammates are still getting stuck into him about his performance at the club's golf day. On not one, not two, but 3 holes, TDL failed to make it past the ladies' tee. which is not great. And they reckon as a golfer, he's a good footballer, but he's a horrible golfer. So there you go. And still at Bomb Beach, the Sharks reckon they've got the most injury-plagued runner in the league. We don't often report about runners, but Paul Woolard missed the entire finals series last season after doing his calf on the eve of the finals, and he's done it again. Steve Hughes, the coach, he reckons by his count, Woolard's missed 6 of the past 7 games that Bomb Beach has played in. But in Woolard's absence, former Bomb Beach coach Steve Capp has been filling in, and according to Hughes, is quicker, fitter, and able to give multiple messages, unlike Paul. He reckons it's going to be tough for him to get his job back.
Yeah, Cappy's a great replacement.
Absolutely.
He knows the players. He's a really good communicator, isn't he?
Definitely. What a good man to be a runner.
Yeah, lovely man.
Yeah.
And just on Bomb Beach, you happened to go into their rooms before the start of last week, and there was a bit of chaos happening in the Bomb Beach rooms. Actually, Gavin Vassallo, number 1 for Bomb Beach, he was looking for a pair of shorts. He couldn't find his shorts, and the team manager kept saying, "Where's my shorts? Where's my shorts? I can't find my shorts." And of course, eventually, after much deliberation, much panic where the shorts were, he took his tracksuit pants down and the shorts were on.
Oh dear. Yes. So look, and in other news, it was a nice touch by Frankston YCW last week when they unfurled their 2017 flag. They gave the honour of unfurling the flag to Craig Nankervis and Tony Lester, 2 of their absolute greats.
Retired legends.
Retired legends, yeah. They both played their last games in that grand final, and they fittingly unfurled the flag last week.
8 premierships for Craig Nankervis, I think maybe 6 or 7 for Lester Blackers.
Yeah, well, he got sick straight after that win too, didn't he, Lester? He spent some time in hospital.
I think so.
So he's back assistant coaching now, but it was great. We actually called that game the RPP Match of the Day in the grand final replay, Vossi and I.
The old flag would have got to work out last week, wouldn't it?
4 flags, 2 for netball and 18s and seniors in the footy. So they had 4 flags, up there blowing in the wind, which
What a club.
was a pretty strong
They are a
wind as
wonderful
well,
club,
wasn't it, Vossi?
Simon.
It was a
And
fresh
the way
day
they
out
go
there,
about
mate.
things is remarkable.
Well, they've got a big function coming up too on the 7th of July. I was talking last week to the couple of the guys there.
Is that fireworks night, is it?
I'm not sure. Well, there'll be plenty of fireworks at the Frankston RSL because they've got the 3 coaches, Scotty Mathers, obviously.
Tony Barry?
Yeah, and as well as the coach of the Century.
Oh, Joshy Kendall.
Yeah, he was our special guest on After the Siren last week, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, great man, Josh.
So he had a fantastic story to share about the MP NFL team in the Century.
Fantastic. What a club. I mean, all those guys, they've had some fantastic coaches, haven't they? They've had great players, great teams to coach, but those guys, they're terrific guys. So, in other news, Mornington, they're zipping 3, unfortunately, the Bulldogs, and it's undoubtedly got to do with the injuries. They've got, I was speaking to Simon Goosey, he'll be on a bit later, I understand, the Goose, but he's never seen anything like it, he reckons. They've got a range of ailments from strains to broken bones to ruptured tendons. And probably the most serious, unfortunately, Ford Dale Whelan suffered a torn ACL and he's out for the season. Star recruit Max Gearan broke his collarbone. Actually, they're really short in the ruck department. They've got no ruckmen. They're all injured, unfortunately.
So every person that they've put into the ruck has got injured. So they've gone 1, 2 and 3 and they've all gone down. So he doesn't name them ruckman anymore. He just calls them followers.
It's the ruckman curse, isn't it? Exactly.
They've had 3 losses, Mornington, all by a combined total of 37 points. Like, they're close in their 3 games. You could argue they probably should be maybe 1 win at least, if not 2 out of their 3. But they had a very close loss on the weekend.
Yeah,
they
they
held 10 points on the weekend.
Held Edith Vale goalless up until half time, and then Edith Vale overran them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, could we even see a comeback by the Goose? Who knows? I mean, they've got huge injuries. I actually put that to the Goose, and he said, who knows?
Gee, that's big
we'll wait and
news.
see. You might have to put that to him later in the show. But, so what else? Talking of injuries, one club which definitely isn't struggling with injuries, in fact is only getting stronger, is Kooringal. Kooringal, the Bulls have actually made some late signings only in the past few days.
Okay.
Securing former Rowville captain Rob McEwen and Paynesville forward Shane Jamison, who was runner-up in that club's best and fairest. Also, the Bulls have also regained Stephen Charalambous, who was a member of the MPNFL 2012 Team of the Year. He's
From
a wingman.
Hastings, has he?
What, sorry?
He was at Hastings, wasn't he?
Was he? Okay. Well, he's back at the bullpen. That's his home. So, and he's really going to add something to them. And in other good news at Coringal, Luke Van Ray has stepped up his training and he's planning a return mid-season. Luke did his knee last season, just a handful of games short of 300. So that's going to be a big day when Luke comes back.
LVR. As
Yeah.
I remember with Toey talking to both LVR and Michael Burke. And they've both been legends of the club, and
Oh,
so
wonderful.
that'd be fantastic to see LVR get across the line.
I reckon he's earned the right to have the game on his own terms at home. I reckon he'll work it out so that the 300th game will be at Coringal. I think he's earned the right to do that.
Definitely.
Talk about knees. It was great to see Aaron Edwards back last week.
And he really added something to Pines too. He kicked a couple of goals in those tough conditions. So it was good to see him back. Speaking of Pines, Pines champion Chewy Scanlon has achieved just about everything in a long and decorated career. But last week, a first, and a slightly embarrassing one at that. Playing against Mount Eliza, Chewy won yet another clearance in the middle and kicked the ball the wrong way.
With the wind?
Well, his spearing drop punt hit the Mount Eliza forward lace out. True story.
He was still named best player, though.
Oh, no, he's a fantastic
Yeah, he
player.
was.
Oh, he's a gun. He's a gun.
He's continued off on his 17 form, mate. The league medalist, and been up and played up north, hasn't he? Darwin.
That's it. He's a gun. He's a terrific guy too. So look, but that's fact. So there's a bit of a go at Chewy, but
Might need a Melways as his instead of a match payment, mate. Might help his scores.
in other news, Interleague is fast approaching, and speaking to Chris Holcomb, the coach, he's done his homework on the opposition, the Northern Footy League. They've released their 30-man squad, which is only 30. And as soon as the squad came out, Holks quickly scanned it and was looking for a couple of names. Brent Harvey and Travis Cloak. But they weren't there. They're not going to be playing. At the moment, they're not in the squad. That could change, of course, but wouldn't that be something?
Gee, big names.
Yeah.
Like, could make a big difference in to the lineup. And that's at Kramer Street Oval, isn't it, Preston?
Right. Yeah,
so,
Preston. So, yeah.
That's a pretty big ground there, too. It's a long ground.
That's
Long,
the Preston.
narrow ground,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
is. Yeah.
That's the Preston. That's the
Old
that's
VFA,
the old VFA. Oh, well, yeah. My sister's in-laws, they actually live straight behind that ground. So,
You'll be able to stay there the night, Bossy.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, Taiwan on with you, Blackers, on that night. That's for sure.
Good stuff.
No dramas. Well, let's
One more. I've got one more.
go.
Now, there's a reason why AFL Southeast Region Manager John Anderson has been skipping around the headquarters at Casey Fields, whistling contentedly, as if he's won the lotto. But he hasn't won lotto. It might have something to do with the fact that he part owns two of the most exciting young harness racing horses in Australia. Their names are Centenario and Hard Hitter, and they've both won through to the final, the $350,000 final of the Australian Pacing Gold next week. So it's a really something to look forward to for John. He's struck it. He's struck
So
it
he's
rich.
got two horses in that race.
He's got two. So Centenario is unbeaten in 4 starts, and Hard Hitter is unbeaten in 2 starts, and they're both Jets.
Gee, that's some interesting news. We'll have to watch this space, Simon.
Indeed. So yeah,
When's that on the weekend, is it?
it's next week. It's next
Okay.
week the final, $350,000 final.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. That was a fantastic debut. So
No worries,
thank
happy.
you, Simon.
Yeah.
Wealth of knowledge.
Having said that, we'll go to a break. You're listening to the Rpp Footy Show here on 98.7 Rpp FM, the voice of the peninsula. Welcome back to the Rpp Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. Well, Kevin Miles has joined us, mate. How are you?
Morning, Neil. That's all good, mate. Yeah, so looking forward to a great day of footy today.
You're going
Should
to
be
need those sunglasses today, Kev.
Yeah, it's going to be
Bit of
warm out
sun
there.
around,
It's going to be warm out there today, so a bit different than last Saturday.
It was shocking, wasn't it, for footy?
Three-quarter time last week, God. I was thinking of you, 35 points down.
Well, we'll go through that, will we? We'll go through the scores from last week's round, and that start with your mob there, Kev, where they did get a shock, didn't they? With Tyre 6 goals up at three-quarter time, mate, as you just said, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, Tyab, I think we sort of got
Did
a
you
bit
take
of a
it
taste.
easy? Do you reckon you took it easy? Or
Oh, look, maybe the boys had a bit of an attitude issue at the start of the game.
Yeah.
And at quarter time, I think Hastings were a couple of points down and had the wind in the second quarter. But to Ty's credit, they played a magnificent second quarter against the wind and kept Hastings to 1 goal. And then after half-time, come out and did what you should do when they had the wind and banged on 5 goals. So they opened up a fair break and all credit to them. No excuses from Hastings' point of view. All credit to Ty for what they did. And Ricky certainly gave the boys a bit of a pasting and they responded in the last quarter because it was a very strong wind. And
they did respond.
Very strong.
And Kev, I know you did have the win in the last quarter, but you still had to produce good football and you still had to kick those goals.
Well, that's right. And they went long and direct and kept winning the ball out of the middle and got the score on the board and got up and got the chocolates in the end. But all credit to Ty. They were pretty disappointed in losing the game, which is quite understandable. They haven't beaten Hastings for about 9 years, so they were very disappointed. But it was a great performance, and they're going to have some wins.
But
absolutely.
And we're all hoping that they do.
But even 17, 18 minutes in the last quarter, you're still the best part of 5 goals down. It was in that last 10 minutes that you turned on the power and maybe Ty had run out of a bit of legs, which obviously, and you guys got the momentum going with the wind, which enabled you to get the 4 points in the end.
Yeah, well, they sort of put a bit of strength on the ball. They put Rogash and Lukey Clark in the middle, so they had a lot of strength in the middle. Ty's still got a lot of young kids in the team. They've got a few strong new recruits that are a bit sort of reasonably strong around the ball, but not quite a lot of them. And they threw Rogash and Lukey Clark into the middle, and they just kept winning out of the ball in the middle and just went long and direct. And
especially what Simon said, they probably lost a couple of soldiers.
Yeah.
So they probably had no rotations on the bench. They might have run out of steam completely.
Well, the final scores were Hastings 9-10-64, 7-point winners over Ty of 8-9-57, and that was played for the George Slocum Shield.
George Slocum, yeah. George coached Hastings to 3 flags in the 40s. He was a coach of the legendary John Coleman and also played a fair bit of footy at Tyab. And his father, George Slocum Sr., also played footy at Hastings and Tyab in the early 1900s. I think he was a premiership player at Tyab in the 20s and a premiership player at Hastings in the 1900s. So we figured when we started playing each other to be a fitting name for the trophy.
Well, speaking of close results, we had our first draw for the year as well, fellas. Moving on to the Langwarrin 5-9-39 drew with Red Hill 6-3-39, your old club Blackers.
Yeah, and talking to Joshy Beard on the Sunday, he said, look, we had our opportunities, but they did as well. They had a kick after the siren that didn't make the distance to win the game, whether it was a point or a goal. So in a low-scoring game and on the weekend.
Not conducive for good footy, though,
no,
was it?
Not
the rain
really.
and the wind.
So both sides probably could have won the game, but in the end they had a draw, and both sides after 2 games have only got 2 points.
And Red Hill have been in the unfamiliar style, I suppose. They've had 2 away games to start. They've also played the two of the 3 sides that have come down.
Yes,
and they've taken 2 points. They probably could have as many as probably 6, maybe even 8. They lost by, was it 7 points, 9 points or something?
Yeah, 11 points or
points.
something.
7 points to Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes. So it wasn't much.
No.
So once again, this competition's as good as the Peninsula one, and every game is going to be a challenge.
Indeed, indeed.
Even like today, Red Hill playing Tyab. Like last couple of years, you would have thought, well, Red Hill are going to win easily. It's not going to be an easy game today.
Definitely not. Okay, well, Dramana continuing on with their good form, 13-12-90, defeating Devon Meadows at Devon Meadows, 8-9-57. So
always
expected?
It's expected, but it's always good to come out of Devon Meadows with a win because they're a very good side on their home ground. And I'd like to think that they would think that they'd win more games at home than they'd lose.
I think that's a very good score in them conditions.
Yes.
That's a very good win.
90 points in those conditions.
The round scores, where, as you said, 6, 7, 8 goals for the round, and they've doubled. They've kicked 13. So.
3 from 3 for Dramana. You can't do any better than that. Ricky Johnson's going very nicely at the moment.
Yeah, well, he'd be very happy with his lot. Then we move on to Coringal, 11-12-78, defeated Rye. 7-14-56. So
they got off to a really good start and they were able to keep that lead for the whole day. I don't think Rye challenged Coringal at all.
It was at Rye, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at Rye.
It's actually 12-12, that final score.
Beg your pardon?
It's 12-12, so 28 points. But they're going along very nicely, and with what Simon was saying there, with a couple of
new recruits,
coming in, like things could be stiffening up and getting very strong there as far as Kringle concerned.
Former captain out of the EDFL Division 1.
And you've got a new 300-game player coming back too, so things are looking very strong there.
No, they're definitely shaping up for, as we all expected, the 2018 season. All the talk and momentum in the lead up to Christmas was
Kringle.
Was it Kringle? So interesting there. Well, Chelsea 11-11, 77 defeated Pearstale 6-13, 49 in the Battle of the Hoops.
They didn't have them their own way, did they?
Chelsea. It was a pretty tight contest, but I think, as expected, we've spoken about Chelsea
being in
Division 2, and just having a little bit more class and probably just a little bit more.
And there was no surprise there. Everyone expected Chelsea to win.
Well, the margin was 28 points, but if you look at it, Chelsea scored 4 goals against the wind, and Pearstale scored none against the wind throughout the day. So basically, there lies your difference there. Like, Chelsea handled the conditions a little bit better than what Pearstale did.
A little bit more mature, their list too, when you sort of go, led with James Brain. He's the coach, isn't he? So he's obviously...
Bywater got a few more goals again.
Curtis did, as we spoke about him in the first couple of weeks. He's scored some
Probably
goals.
Just too strong for the defenders down there at Pearstale.
Well, they're very young, as we mentioned. The list at Pearstale has been for the last couple of years coming through the ranks with the juniors. They've got, some really potentially good players, and it was Connor Benwell is Shane. Is it Shane Benwell?
Yeah, Shane.
Yeah, not Steve.
Not Steve.
We had a bit of pace during the week.
Matty.
Well, that's one brother. Then there's Shane, the other brother. I think it's Shane's son. So they said Steve. So we just thought we'd clarify that. So obviously they've got the Bushy Cup today. We'll be speaking with the Langwarrin coach Josh Beard shortly. So I'll be interested to see what his thoughts will be in the lead up to that. And the final game of the round was our night game. 6 o'clock start there at Crib Point. That was Somerville, far too good. 16-10, 106, defeating Crib Point 6-13, 49. And there was a couple of big milestone games for a bloke on each team in the reserves. For Somerville as well as Crib Point.
Barkers in the seconds.
Yeah. So they were great clubmen, both of them.
And who was the...
Jordan Boyce, was it?
Oh, Boyce, yeah.
So great clubmen, both of them.
Both great clubmen.
9 goals to 1 in the third quarter. This game was set up like 15 points of difference at half time. Cribby would have gone in feeling okay about themselves, but that third quarter, 9 goals to 1, absolutely destroyed the contest. And Somerville will get their first win of the season. And Crib Point, well, it's been a struggle the last couple of years, and you've got to stick fat with your side, Magpie supporters. You really got to stick true and believe that you can come back. It's a tight competition. A win's not too far around the corner. You just got to believe and stick to your guns, and it'll happen.
Oh,
fantastic. Well, on that note, we'll take another break. You're listening to the Rpp Footy Show. Welcome back to the Rpp Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. We've got the Langwarrin senior coach with us here in Josh Beard. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Cheers, mate. Excellent.
And we spoke earlier about the drawn game. So what was your thoughts on that against Red Hill?
Obviously, you'd love to have a win, but we sort of controlled what we felt like we controlled the footy for a lot of the game, but in those conditions we were probably unable to hit the scoreboard. And we had an 8-point lead with probably 4 or 5 minutes to go, and we let that slip, and you probably go from a feeling where you should have won a game, and John O'Ross marks a ball in the forward pocket and gets an opportunity to win the game for Red Hill after the siren, and his kick went across the face, and you end up being pretty lucky to get a draw. So,
and like Josh, sorry to interrupt, but John O'Ross, renowned for big kicks.
And obviously knowing Jono really well, he kicked a couple of winning goals for Red Hill. He's probably one fella I wouldn't have liked the ball in his hands, but it was a difficult win to kick for, and the fact I think he tried to kick a goal probably cost him because it just pushed it across the face. Obviously, any score would have got the job done, but Jono was pretty distraught. But you sit back and reflect, and you take the 2 points. I guess you're on the board for the season. Josh,
obviously you're new to the Langwarrin club. Even though Langwarrin haven't had a win so far, can you sense that the confidence is starting to filter back? Like last couple of years, obviously been down the ladder a little bit, struggling to win games, but gone down this year. Kringle gone down, Chelsea gone down. They've started well. You guys haven't got the win yet, but can you sense the confidence coming back?
Oh, absolutely, mate. And
you've been in every game.
There's no doubt. There's a feeling there that it's been a long journey and a difficult journey, and they've been in position to win games, and they've just consistently fallen short. So we feel the mix is really good. They're all local players. You look at our player points and we're on 25 on the weekend. So our focus has been Langwarrin people back to Langwarrin. There's a lot of players that were sort of out not playing football with other clubs, and we've worked really hard to get some of those guys back, and including under 19 kids as well. So the feeling's there, the confidence is there. I think there's some great confidence that the group can achieve something together. And the age group with the experience and youth is really good. So we're excited about sort of what the season has ahead.
The next month for you guys, obviously Pearcedale today, Devon Meadows at home, Rye away, and then Crib Point away. So look, we've touched on it. There's no easy games.
No, it's not. I think it's a wonderful competition, and I think if you look too closely at the results, you perhaps give yourself a bit of a false sense of security in leading to another game, because I think every team's got a player probably capable of turning a game on his own. Crib Point haven't had a solid start to the season, but some of the inclusions into their team haven't found their feet yet. So,
and they're adjusting to the competition.
Absolutely, and you look at Tyab probably having Hastings on toast and then getting run over in the last quarter. So it makes for a really good competition.
Well, as you said, Vossi, today it's the Courtney Scales Bushman's Cup you're playing for, Joshy. Back to the old territory as well, mate, and great rivalry between Langwarrin and Pearcedale.
Massive, mate, and obviously the first for me being on the other side of the fence with Langwarrin. But
and you're a life member of the club too, of Pearcedale.
Yep, and I mean, I grew up there, played a lot of footy there. All your mates are there, and there's not a lot of people there that you're probably as close to as you were, because I've been away for so long. But still a lot of familiar faces, and it'll be a big day for me. But our focus is to go down there and play good footy on probably a unique footy oval compared to ours.
They do play their ground really well.
Absolutely, and I think being a past player from Pearcedale and thriving on that home ground advantage, I think to go from a small ground to a big ground was always really daunting. I think to come from a big ground to a small ground is probably not as difficult a task in terms of an advantage. So that's just something the way I feel about it. But we're a physically strong side, and I don't think going to a smaller ground will have an enormous effect on us.
Your pressure was really good last week against Red Hill.
We set our standards high with our tackling. We think we're a pretty strong side, so the boys tidied up a little bit on where we let ourselves down against Coringal, and one of those things was not just pressure but effective pressure. So having an inside knowledge into Red Hill, we know if you let the footy on the outside and let them use the footy that they're hard to stop. So we made tackling our focus, and we thought we executed that pretty well.
That first half you were looking very strong. Obviously both sides had the use of the wind. You were 11 points up at half time, and probably in a way you said before happy with 2 points, but in another way you picked yourself out of it. Maybe Red Hill got lucky in the end. It was just one of those sort of games, wasn't it?
Oh, I think both clubs walk away disappointed. So that's how close the game was, and how unique I think the competition is, that both sides walk away feeling they let one slide. So
I guess we won't know until later in the year as to whether that's 2 points gained or 2 points lost for your club or for Red Hills.
That's one positive you try and.
Well, it's 2 points you can't take away.
No, but the boys are in the room afterwards, and one positive, boys, that in 10 weeks' time, that 2 points might be really important.
Might get you into the 5, might get you into the 3. Who
knows?
Right.
So we take it and we move on, and we talk about not reflecting on results for too long, and make sure we fix what we probably can and move into the opposition, which is Pearcedale this week.
And just tell us a bit, like obviously you're at Langwarrin, Neil touched on it before in regards to and Blackers as well, your Pearcedale Life membership. What does this game mean? Like we spoke about with Goose about the Mornington Mount Eliza game. What about the Pearcedale Langwarrin game? What does that mean to Pearcedale and Langwarrin supporters? People in that area.
It does mean a lot, and they've only been able to play that game in a practice match in the pre-season, and through availabilities of ground. Sometimes it's on the back oval at Pearcedale and on a smaller oval at Langwarrin. So
it's been a while since you've been playing for points.
Oh, absolutely.
Match points,
but it's a significant game.
It is, and we try and educate the younger players about the wonderful players that have taken part in that over the years, and what it's meant to different people, and the people the cup's named after. So
Bobby Scales,
Bobby's a
legend of Pearcedale. Andrew Bidette, he sponsors both clubs.
Yep.
There was talk about the cup being named after him as well.
Yep.
So, Michael Begicevic, he's another long-term servant at Pearcedale, Coolabah Herb. So
yeah, I think I'm right, Josh, in saying is this your first senior opportunity since Mornington?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. No, look, a guy like Josh coming back into coaching,
wonderful.
like obviously he worked with you closely the last couple of years.
And I've been very lucky to have people like Josh supporting me in what I've done over the last 4 years.
When he was coaching Mornington was struggling for a couple of years here, I dare say, but you go out and listen to him and to hear him speak and to hear him get an opportunity, see him get an opportunity is fantastic. I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is indeed. Speaking of opportunities, former junior Luke Parker, the number one ticket holder for the club this year. That's a great scoop.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I think he wandered down to go for a jog on the oval. He had his dog down there with him, and TC, who's the footy manager at the footy club, saw an opportunity and pounced on him, and all of a sudden the coaching staff, obviously with Blake down there, and got the boys around him and had him signed up as our number one ticket holder. So
Mark Bagley, number 2 ticket holder or something as well?
Unfortunately, he wasn't down there walking his dog in the place, so he probably missed out. But
Yeah.
there is some wonderful juniors that have gone through the Langwarren system and gone on to be terrific players.
Speaking of Langwarren legends, what about Towie, the great man? Playing today for the Bushy Cup. I'm sure there'll be enough incentive in that, but I'm sure there's extra incentive with his battle at the moment. What are your thoughts with Towie and what a legend he is of the Langwarren Footy Club?
I don't think it matters sort of which game we play. I think obviously I've had a personal relationship with Towie and been in coaching positions where I've probably been under the pump in clubs that expectations are high, but they're not. Reality is the club's where it's at, and it was a difficult point. A lot of people, when you're coaching and it's not going well, want to whack you down pretty quickly, and Towie was someone who got right behind me and saw the positives that I was trying to drive through the footy club and promoting the kids, and he gave me an opportunity to spread that message through the radio, and I've been a close friend ever since, and message me when I get the opportunity, but it doesn't need to be a Pearstale game or a big game. Towie's aside from him even being a Langwarren person,
he's a local football person.
He's a local football person, so we're all there for him, and I guess footies doesn't mean much when you look at a battle like that.
Correct. No, that's very well said. Very well said
Oh,
indeed.
it's great that he's home at the moment, and
Some positive news.
that's wonderful news for him. He's in the comfort of his own environment. That's the big positive thing.
Indeed. Well, you've got a busy day ahead of you as well, Joshy Beard.
Busy day, mate. I raced down here. Bloody Matty Hyden from the Red Hill Footy Club rang me up, and his roof was leaking, and I shot in there before here, and I climbed up on the roof. He wasn't home, and I've repaired a couple of tiles and put a bit of lead where I didn't have enough tiles to finish it. And he pulled in the driveway and he said, "Oh, you're fixing their roof too, eh, mate?" So I was on the wrong roof, but it turns out his was an easier repair. So there's a bird just in Mornington there that got a roof fixed for free. So
You star. Well, thanks for joining us today on the Rpp Footy Show,
Great
Josh.
work, Josh.
Much
Good luck
appreciated,
today,
mate.
mate.
Good luck for today's
Hopefully you
game.
get your first win, mate.
And I'm sure all roads will lead to Tractor Park this afternoon for the rivalry of the Bushman's Cup.
Oh, I'd expect a big crowd there today, Neil, especially with the conditions that we've got. Completely different to last week's.
And they're playing for points, so there's added incentive there. So
we look forward to it, mate. And obviously, Blake being a co-coach, his leadership, so he comes back into the side today. So,
it's a big in.
It is a big in, and we've been up and down with injuries and players being unavailable. So, our balance is good. We're excited about the challenge.
Good on you. Well, good luck today. And on that note, we'll take a break and we'll be back with more on the Rpp Footy Show. You're listening to 98.7 Rpp FM. Welcome back to the Rpp Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. As we just heard, Josh Beard, the coach of Langwarren, got the Bushman's Cup game there today.
Yeah, it's a big game for
with
both
all
clubs.
roads leading to Pearstale, Tractor Park. But
There should be some bumper crowds happening across today and tomorrow, like obviously the Bushy Cup today, Mornington Mount Eliza tomorrow. Going to be some huge crowds happening.
Especially with the weather it is over the weekend.
Great weather compared to last
We've had a
week.
wonderful week.
it was terrible, wasn't it, Kev?
Good still weather, and we're going to have it again today.
Well, last Saturday with Vossi down there at the YCW game, mate, it was freezing, wasn't it? We had 180 kilometre winds. Had it all happening down there, buddy.
It was, but we've got some big games happening in Division 2 today, Neil.
Very big games indeed, actually. We've got the RPP match of the day is actually Hastings, Kev's mob, hosting Chelsea. So, Kev, what do you think about that one, mate?
Yeah, it should be great. We've obviously Hastings being a original Peninsula Division club, got a great rival with Chelsea. They've met about 90 odd times, with Chelsea holding a slight advantage for wins. So yeah, looking forward to playing Chelsea today. So hopefully a few of the old Chelsea boys come down.
So Kev, how long is it since Hastings and Chelsea played each other since you
9 years.
9 years, yeah.
So I think Hastings came into this comp at the start of 2009. So 2009, 2009, yeah. So 2008.
Well, they wouldn't want to take it
10
easy
years.
like the first three quarters in last week's game, mate, where they nearly came unstuck with Tyre.
No, well, Chelsea's come down and they've done exactly what Kringle have done as well. They've met opposition and they've won both games, and so they'll have their tail up. Obviously they've come into this competition with a hope to be a lot more competitive than what they've been in the last 3 or 4 years in Peninsula Division.
You mentioned attitude before, Kev. Like the Hastings attitude today is going to have to be really strong compared to maybe what it was for a while last week. You're going to have to be switched right on from the start if you're going to get the full play.
Sorry to interrupt. The thing about last week, in the past, Tyre haven't been that competitive. You had a terrible day, one of the worst days we've had in a long time.
Come off a big win too.
So the mindset of the players would be just going through the motions. We'll get the job done. Just look after ourselves, and we'll focus on.
Well, they were 111-point winners too the week.
There's no easy games now,
right.
Blackers. That's the point.
No, I realise that.
Well,
but the mindset of the players would have been like that. It can't be helped.
No, look, what Tony's saying is exactly right. Like at quarter time, Hastings were 2 points down and Tyre were kicking with the Howling Gale. So Hastings at quarter time would have thought, well, we'll just kick half a dozen now and game will be over. Whereas then Tyre had a fantastic second quarter and kept Hastings to 1 goal and then did the right thing in the third quarter when they had the win and kicked 5, made use of it. So, but then to Hastings' credit, they won the game. They end up getting up, winning the game, kicking 7 goals in the last quarter. So I don't think their attitude will be an issue today with Chelsea, and it probably won't be when they play Tyre again next time.
And Neil, I think that these two sides are going to be thereabouts at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
We talked about that last week. I think both sides' expectations would be to play finals and to finish top 3.
Well, I think you're right. I think the expectations, certainly of Chelsea and Kooringal and Langwarrin, will be top 3. And when you've obviously got Hastings, quality opposition in Hastings.
Dramana,
Dramana sitting
Ride.
first. So, there's a log jam for 5 spots and we're only 3 rounds in. So.
Chelsea's, who did Chelsea beat last week?
Pearcedale.
Yeah. So, they've had to go down to Pearcedale, probably play at the ground and against a team they've probably never ever played before.
I was going to say, first time in a long, long time.
They've ever played Pearcedale before?
I reckon they would have, but it'll be a long time ago.
Yeah, I reckon when there was Northern and
You could be right.
Oh,
yeah, maybe when there was Northern and Southern.
Chelsea was in the lower division.
I reckon.
That's when they won their last premiership.
Yeah.
So I reckon that they would have played some games back then.
Crossed over at some stage, yeah. So it wouldn't be many games. So, to have to play Pearcedale in them conditions on that ground, as Josh alluded to it, it's a different place to play footy, Pearcedale.
The Tractor Park certainly is.
And the Pearcedale crowd, when they get roaring, can be a massive advantage for the home team. So, to Chelsea's credit, they've had a win, and then they knocked off Red Hill the week before, and Red Hill's in that mix for the top 5 as well. So
I think they will be.
And
so it's a great start for Chelsea. So it'll be a big game today.
Just on Chelsea, obviously they had Curtis Bywater kick 5 goals last week. They also
Makes it 9 for the year, doesn't it?
Look, he like I said last week, he polarised opinion a little bit amongst supporters because he was on a fair coin a couple of years ago, but he's doing the job the first couple of games. Todd Gardner's a star, and he was the best player last week for Chelsea. He was named their best player. So they're just a couple of the players that Hastings are going to have to watch today. But this game, you sort of touched on what it means, Milesy, in terms of the importance of it, the fact that you haven't played each other for a while. It's going to be great to see two good sides go at it. Beautiful day for football, and leaving it all out there.
Well, we keep alluding to how even the comp's going to be. It's probably going to be even right down to about position number 9.
Yep.
So there's going to be good teams going to miss out this year. So you've got to take your wins, and both sides are undefeated. So one team's going to be undefeated after today. So it's a massive game, and you've got to take your wins when they come along, and
especially when they're at home.
When they're at home,
you'd expect that you'd lean towards more the home side on a day like today.
I've never actually necessarily thought Hastings have a massive home ground advantage at Hastings, though. I think it's a great ground to play footy on, and I always think if you're any good, you'll win.
That's right. So, I used to love playing down Hastings.
It's
the big wide open spaces, especially on a little wind.
Yeah, there's no hoodoos there, and you get plenty, and there's 5 hot showers afterwards. So they're well looked after, the opposition at Hastings.
I'm tipping Hastings in a close one, boys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think both sides won't know a lot about each other, and especially coming into that game, I think Hastings at home, Yeah, in a real good, hard-fought game.
Yeah, I think the same. I'm going to go with your mob, Kev.
Well, I'll
Hastings
stick with
as well.
Homebus. I think, obviously, Matty Clifford's back in today after serving a couple of weeks suspension, and Shawnee Foster and Ricky Ferrara. I'm sure they know a few of the Chelsea boys because they're from up that way. So it'll be a good day for
more
footy.
Versatility, doesn't he?
He does. And Matty can go anywhere,
Yeah.
either end of the ground, or he can have a run through the middle. So it gives us a bit of strength.
I think they'll be too good. In a close contest. That's from 1:45 live here on 98.7 Rpp FM, Vossi.
And not only can you hear it, but you can watch it, like the Facebook page, get onto YouTube and follow us, and you'll see some great action live this afternoon from Hastings.
Well said, Vossi. Well, our next game, mate, is Dramana versus Coringal, another cracking game.
Well, this will be a cracker, won't it? Because you got two undefeated sides again.
Yeah, well, I think right now they're the two best teams in the comp. And I know it's only early, but both sides have beaten teams that would all expect, in their own expectations, each club would expect to be really good shows of making finals, and they've beaten everyone they've been put in front of and beaten them, I suppose.
Convincing.
Coringal didn't beat Langeron obviously comfortably, but
Dramana
they won, and Dramana's won convincingly every week.
They're both beaten Rye.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Langwarrin was their first game against
so
Coringal, as you
Langwarrin
said.
had their opportunities against Coringal first game, but they had some quality in the end, and Michael Burke was the difference in that last quarter. Dramana started slow against Rye, but were able to get the job done, and then they played Somerville last week and Devon Meadows.
Yes, I think they started slow against Somerville as well, and got up and won reasonably easily, and then Devon at Devon last week in them conditions.
A tough day out, you're right.
By about 5 goals.
And as you said, they scored the highest for the round.
Yeah.
Dramana. So attacking style of footy. And
we all spoke about, Devon's recruited reasonably well. And
correct.
As I said, so all these teams that these two sides have beaten so far would all be expecting to play a role in the finals.
I think so.
They're not unrealistic goals for those sides. And Coringal and Dramana have won every game. So I think right now they're the two best teams in the comp, and it should be a cracker.
So who's your choice with Dramana at home?
Well, probably just that. Dramana's probably another place to go where it's a bit of a circle ground. It's not overly long, but it's pretty wide. So I think they have a great home ground advantage there as well.
And they do play it well, Kev, don't they?
They play it very well, and they're very slick. And Coringal's obviously recruited well, so and a lot of strong bodies. Coringal. All the guys they recruited seem to be on the older side of the ledger, so they'll be all experienced and strong. So, being Dramana not overly a big ground, won't bother their fitness. But
no, it'll really suit Coringal,
yeah,
because it's that smaller, in-close sort of game.
So, who are you picking?
I still really like Dramana. I like Dramana because it's at Dramana. I think that they play their ground really well. I think they're fleet-footed and they use the ball really well.
Coringal for mine.
Yeah, Dramana for me.
Okay, so 2-1, and I'll go with the home team as well, Dramana. So there's another cracking game. Like as you say, trying to pick the match of the day.
Yeah,
it's getting harder each week. Okay, we'll go into Crib Point are hosting Rye. So last week they hosted the night game, and by all accounts, unfortunately with the weather, didn't help Crib Point's situation, but. By all means, they sounded like they had a pretty good game.
What sort of a crowd did they get there on the Saturday
night? I think it wasn't what they expected,
unfortunately,
due to the weather, because it was terrible.
If it had been tonight, it would have been so much better for them and a club.
As you say, I thought you'd get probably double. So I don't know the actual figures, but I know that wasn't what they expected.
What about the lights down there? The lights.
Don't know.
Just be interested because
well, they must be good enough to play.
Yeah, they wouldn't host a game down there if they weren't up to for 4 points. I mean, being Somerville, the opposition, you probably refuse to play under lights if they were poor. So they must be pretty good.
They've got a big game today. Obviously, they're playing at home, and they just need to put out a good performance. So. Crib Point, just get behind your supporters, get behind your players, get behind your team, and just get to the game today because they need you. For Rye supporters, obviously, it's a game that they need to win as well. But basically, just get to the game and support your team because both sides need a win.
Rye would have liked to have beaten Dramana or Crib Point. They would have liked to have beaten one of those sides. They ran out of legs against Tyab, didn't they?
Yep.
So today, they've recruited well. They've recruited well, Tyab. Rye. Sorry, they've recruited really well, Rye. And in the off-season, there's been a lot of talk about the new people that have come to the Crib Point Football Club. But I just think that the Rye people are hardened Mornington Peninsula players. Tyrone Head's had an outstanding start to the season. They've got Big Tommy Baker up there. They've got Kirkwood down back. I think, and Lloyd, who's come back to the club as well. I think they're going to have too many good players, and I think that the margin will be a lengthy one as well.
Okay, so well,
6 or 7 for me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's 2 years.
That's
so.
lengthy.
Yeah, well, I think, Rye's obviously, as Black has said, they've dropped 2 games, and they're a side that, over the pre-season, people were sort of expecting to be right up there amongst it with Kooringal.
So Kev, to try and get to that top 5 position, they've lost to Dramana, and they've been in a winning position. Kooringal got off to a great start, and they never really fronted Kooringal. So they're 2 sides that I think will play finals.
Yep.
Rye's got to beat some of those top sides. They've got to beat the sides like Crib Point today, but they've got to nail some big ones.
That's right. So they can't go to Crib Point today now and then, have a so-so game and even just win. They really need to make a statement today. And Crib's sort of struggling at the moment. I think some of their recruits are going to take a bit of time to adjust to the comp. I'm not sure if they got big number 5 fellow who's on the Casey list. He played against us. I'm not sure if he played last week. He can play. He's got a fair bit of ability. Just, whether he fits into the mould at Crib Point or not's another thing. So again, if he's sort of in and out, it's always going to be a bit disruptive for that side. But if he gets to play 3 or 4 games in a row, well, he could end up making a bit of a difference. He plays in the ruck up forward. He's got a fair leap on him. But I think Rye just they're not going to let this slip today. And I think Crib will get better as the year goes on, but they're just a little bit off the pace at the moment.
Josh Moore would be absolutely drilling it into his players Thursday night, going into today. Be switched on. Next week they've got the bye. Obviously they've got Dramana and Rye played the week before, so the bye comes for both of them too next week.
Yeah, round 4.
So they've really got to step it up, and Maury would be right onto his players today because they might get an easy week on the track if they have a good win, but if they have a bad one, look out, Rye.
Well, if they have a win, then they're only, as you said, either Hastings and Chelsea are going to lose, and Kooringal and Dramana are going to lose. So 2 of them sides are going to all of a sudden they're only 1 game behind. But if they drop it off, they're still 2 games behind, and they
won't lose. They won't lose today.
No, they shouldn't.
And we did mention earlier about the milestone game for Glenn Barclay, club legend down there.
Wonderful.
So on the back of Luke Harrington the week before.
Yeah, fantastic bloke, Barkers.
Yeah, so that's a bit of positive news there, and Jordan Boyce as well, as we said for Somerville. He played
2 wonderful servants of the Crib
and done everything at the club behind the scenes, not just on the field.
Well, Barkers
and in cricket as well.
That's right. Barkers doesn't miss a Tuesday and Thursday night cricket season or footy season. He's just there. He's been a wonderful servant of that footy club and cricket club, so it was a fantastic effort to get 300 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we've got Red Hill versus Tyab. So you're
Up
old
the hill tonight,
former club Blackers, and you know all about that ground
look,
up there.
I think Tyab have been wonderful. Take nothing away from Tyab. They've been outstanding. I know Simon said earlier in the piece that they've got a few injuries. But they've been really physical, and they were obviously really physical last week. They play a really good one-on-one brand of football. The good thing about Red Hill, they played 2 away games, right, against sides Chelsea and Langwarrin that they probably haven't come across in the last 10 years.
They're quality oppositions.
Really good opposition. And so they come back on their home ground today, big open space, a nice day, and their ball movement will be...
Dylan Hall.
Yeah, wonderful player.
Chris Irving.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I think, Jonas Siverson. Well, there's 3 guys who'd walk into most teams, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think last week Irving twinned his hamstring.
Oh.
So he probably won't play. He didn't take any part of the game after half-time last week.
Okay.
But in saying that, I still think that they'll have enough there to be able to beat Tyab. Not comfortably. I think Tyab have shown that they're going to be a different...
well, Aaron Pacey seems to have made a statement, hasn't he?
They're a different... They're
good
a different
old-fashioned,
side.
as you said earlier in the program.
Yeah.
Black is just accountable, just man on man.
Man on man, accountable
just keep it
football.
simple. That's the simple.
Good old-fashioned hard work, basically.
Yeah. So I think today Red Hill will get their first win for the season, but I think Tyab need to just wait a couple more weeks and their opportunity will come.
I think Red Hill will win today, and I think it'll probably be maybe 3 to 4 goals. I think they'll
it
have
might be a bit more than that.
Okay. They'll have enough there to get the job done. And look, it'd be interesting to see how Tyre back it up after the disappointment of last week. And I say disappointment, 35 points in front, low scoring game, disappointment not to win. So it'd be just interesting to see that back
They
up
just need
today.
to keep the buzz up, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Because it will come,
yeah.
and then they'll get hopefully one win. Hopefully they get a couple of wins, and I just don't think it'll happen this week.
No.
No, it won't this week. But again, they have been fantastic the first 2 weeks, and as Blackie said, they keep that sort of thing up, and the wins will come. They've got a very young team still, so they recruited these bigger body guys who've just played good, solid senior footy at different places. So they're going to help these young kids get more experience. They're not getting blown away. So the wins will come, and they'll just it's all about the future for Tyre, and it's on the way up.
Well, they're on the right track, which is great for football.
Yep.
As Vossi said in their first show of the year, it's the smell of hope at this time of year, Vossi. And it was a great quote, but it's true, because it's exactly what you've said. Tyre are playing with hope, and obviously that's what you want to see.
And the last game of the round, obviously, last but not least, Somerville versus Devon Meadows. That's another big game.
Well, yeah, go on.
Well, it is a big game because these two sides are going to be thereabouts. If they're going to make the top 5, they need to be beating the sides around them. And I think that these two sides are in the same area. They're middle of the road, vying on, pushing for that 5th spot.
When we go back 12, 18 months ago when they were grand finalists, they've still got the talent there at Somerville, haven't they? Like Tim McGuinness, Speedy.
Yeah, but they've lost Simpson, they've lost the Farrelly brothers, they've lost Budahurst. They've lost a couple of others along the way. Yes, they've got great kids.
Well, that was the next point about
The
the
kids,
under-18s
because they're
coming through, because
under-18s
they won like 3 flags not that long ago, and
were runners up in the grand final
they've
last year.
consistently been thereabouts in the under-18s, under-19s.
So that's to another question, isn't it? Where do all the kids go? Not all kids that play under-19 footballs then go on and play senior football. And Kev, we've talked about in the past that local under-19s football kids are just starting to drop away.
Yep.
So if you're not good enough to then play senior football, a lot of them aren't sticking around to play seconds football.
But they've been successful, though.
Oh,
we spoke
100%.
about Sereno and YC with their junior program.
Mate,
Somerville have been equal.
Better.
They've won 10 flags in the last 15 years.
They've been the best junior football club at under-18, under-19 level for the last 10 years.
I think a lot of things happen with Somerville is that some of their under-19 players are outstanding, and they move on to Stingrays footy, and either get drafted or potentially end up at the Dolphins or whatever in seasons past. And some of the other kids that are left behind aren't necessarily that good. You got these 3 or 4 stars that really drag. They're handy players. We got these 3 or 4 real good blokes that drag them through, and then they win the finals, and then these good players go, and the other kids left behind have been handy under-18 players, but not necessarily superstars.
Match winners.
And then they're a little bit sort of not quite as good as what they maybe thought they were when they had to come into senior footy.
That's a very good point you make there, Kev.
Billy Roll kicked 6 goals last week.
He's
another star.
He's a good player. You go through the whole... Yeah, they're a good outfit, Somerville.
Well, I think they should be better, considering...
Where's this game today?
Somerville.
That's Somerville.
That's at home.
Yeah,
So but I'm just saying, going on their previous results, including 17 season I'm talking,
Yes.
when you look at their team from being grand finalists, I know you've mentioned the outs, but gee, you'd think with the depth coming through the ranks there, that they could cover them. But you've answered that too, Kev.
Yes.
Well, it's just
What happens?
Well, Hastings have probably won, just for a figure, let's say 30 under-18 games in the last 10 years. It's not a lot. But we had 12 guys who come for their under-18s playing that premiership a couple of years ago. So, our kids haven't had much success winning games of footy as kids.
But they've had to work hard, and
But they work hard, and they battle, and they're used to getting knocked around a bit, so coming into senior footy is not necessarily a challenge as far as people being bigger or stronger or pushing them around. They're used to it. And then they develop.
So the step's not quite as,
Well, I just think, they're probably a little bit hungry, and
It's like a good little back pocket player in the AFL, like the Clarksons and the Malthouses and the Sheedys and the Pagans. They've all had to work and battle.
Yeah.
All become great coaches.
Wonderful coaches.
Yeah, that's a good analogy there.
Yeah, so our kids had no success as kids. But, 12 of them played in that premiership side that hardly ever won an under-18 game.
Yeah, well, when you say it like that, that's an even better result. That's a fantastic result for the club.
If you call
for
this
the competition.
If you call this an upset, I'm going for Devon today and an upset.
Well, we haven't really said a lot about them. I reckon they're definitely
I think Devon's beaten someone a couple of times in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, and they're around the mark, and I think Devon Meadows...
Theodoros are back, so they helped us strengthen the forward line, the forward half, so glad Mickey said that. And
Somerville have got Gillis, he's a goal-kicking forward. I like to think that Somerville at home, they lost their first game against Dramana. They got off to a great start against Dramana a couple of weeks ago and then fell right away. Today I think that they'll beat Devon Meadows.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just stick with Somerville just because it's home. Even though they're similar size type grounds, but I think just at home, Summy.
Okay, and Vossi?
Devon for mine.
Okay, well I'll go with Vossi. We'll leave it up, so it's 2 each.
Cool. Who's having the deciding vote?
Beg your pardon?
He gets the decider. You're the chairman, you get 2 votes.
Wait for age.
I'll wait till the 33-minute mark of the fourth quarter. We'll have a look at game face. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more on the Rpp Footy Show. You'll listen to the Rpp Footy Show here on 98.7 Rpp FM. You can always check us out also on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, welcome back to the Rpp Footy Show, once again proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. Well, our next guest is the coach of the Mornington Senior Footy Club, and he's a legend of the MP-NFL footy competition, and he joins us now, right here at the Rpp Studios. How are you, Simon?
Yeah, good, thanks, Neil. Good to be here.
Welcome for the 2018 season, mate. It's off to a difficult start, I suppose, 0-3, mate. So
yeah, look, I've been reasonably happy how we've been going. We could easily be 3-0 instead of 0-3.
You've been in every game, Simon, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had a chance to win the game in every game that we've been in the last 2 minutes, and we've kicked the point and the ball's gone down the other end for a goal. So we've been close. We're playing some good footy. We've got, like everyone has injuries. We've been stuck down with a lot of injuries at the moment, especially to our key position in ruckman.
Yeah, Simon McAvoy spoke earlier on the program and said exactly that. How we've been a bit stiff. Tested.
Yeah, every bloke that comes in and plays ruck goes out injured. So, look, last week we got Mitch Lindsay back. That he was recruited as a ruckman from Cranbourne. And he played some really good football last week, so he's only going to get better. And we slowly, over the next 3 weeks, we'll probably start to see
some players come back.
How have you settled back in at Mornington, just out of curiosity? Because there was a bit of talk with yourself coming back from Cranbourne, where you were very successful, and obviously there was talk with some recruiting and all that with your connections at Cranbourne. How's the season unfolded in your opinion?
Yeah, look, I've loved being back at home. Look, it's 5 minutes from home. It's a club I spent half my life at, and it's a club I love. So, and look, I suppose like where we are at the moment, the competitions are a real good competition, and on your day, any team will beat anyone. You only have to drop down. Like we've had a 5 minute lapse last week, and it cost us the game. Like we kept Edafale goalless for a half, and probably a 5 minute lapse in the third quarter allowed them to kick a couple of goals, and that was probably the difference. But yeah, it's been good to be back, and unfortunately with a few of the recruits that we have got, like we've had a lot of collision injuries. Max Gearan, midfielder from Cranbourne. He actually broke his collarbone 10 minutes into the second quarter, round one, and Mick Williams, he was playing ruck for us. He did it.
He was your third ruckman, wasn't he?
Yeah, third ruckman, and he broke his hand 9 minutes into the second quarter. I thought the physio was having a joke with me, saying, "Mate, we've got to send these two blokes to hospital." Yeah. I thought he was.
So you don't name him ruckman anymore, do you? down there?
No, mate, I'm nearly making a comeback, I'll tell you. And that's a bit scary. I've been doing a bit of training too.
I heard some reports that you were training through the week.
Yeah, I have been.
It just depends on how you pull up.
High altitude too, the Blackers I have been.
Well, Simon McAvoy alluded us to that
training.
too earlier in the program. He said a news scoop, the Goose might be making a comeback. So
I think I'm a bit too old.
The Frankston game, Goose, like we saw the game, you had your moments there, like you kicked the first 3 goals of the game, you're on top. Quarter time, you just sort of let Frankston get back in. You were 10 points in front at 3/4 time, let Frankston dominate the early parts of the last quarter. You sort of touched on it before, but that 5 or 10 minutes is just killing you blokes at the moment.
Yeah, look. Like round one, we were down 2 rotations from 10 minutes in the second quarter, so that takes a toll on with how we play the game, and that game there too. We had another 2 off that couldn't come back on. We had blokes cramping up, and like we're a pretty fit side, and we pride ourselves on our fitness, but. That game, I think Josh Halsall, he couldn't come back on. He was off at the 20-minute mark of the third quarter. Dale Whelan did his ACL at the start of the third quarter.
John Miller was injured as well. He came off with
he actually had a break to the nose. So
I thought he was very gallant too that day.
Yeah, he was. Probably the good thing about it, if you get, it's not like a broken collarbone or a broken leg. At least you don't have to worry about your face.
No.
You played in a few of these, the Mornington versus Mount Eliza game. It's not Anzac Day, but it's the Anzac round. It's a game that'd have huge significance for you as a Mornington person.
Yeah. Look, when I first moved into Mornington and I played my first game, I remember the older blokes really educated me on the importance of the Mount Eliza game. It was like the old, I suppose you could say, Collingwood Carlton.
Yeah, rivalry game.
There was always blood in back then.
If you only win 2 games of the year, you beat Mount Eliza if you're a Mornington person, and probably vice versa if you're a Mount Eliza person. In a way.
Yeah, I'm not happy with 2 wins, Fossey.
You know what you know where I'm coming from, Bruce.
Yeah, I know, mate. 2 wins, that doesn't cut a season, though.
No, but it's a huge game. Going back to the original point, it's a huge game.
Huge
for both
game.
clubs, too.
And too right, because Mount Eliza have got a young side as well. So
and the bigger physical bodies last week of the Pines guys at Mount Eliza really showed against Mount Eliza. Last week, the Pines.
I've seen a few clips from that game, and probably when you look at it though, it was difficult conditions last week.
They were
playing
tough,
a gale.
conditions.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, you've got a big month starting Sunday, as you say. All roads lead to Mornington's game.
Yeah,
hosting Mount Eliza, the rivalry game, as you pointed it out, Fossey. But then you've got Sorrento, YC and Bomb Beach, so you'll certainly know where you're,
we've got a pretty
easy
4 weeks, haven't we?
Well, there's no easy weeks at all anymore.
Exactly.
The good thing about this competition, Simon, is that everyone plays each other twice.
Yeah.
So you've got 9 rounds, then you assess where your season's at, and then you've got nine games to come home.
Yeah, and look, I look at it too. It's like anyone with injuries, like Pines. Paddy got Christmas early last Thursday when he had Aaron Edwards and Tim Bongetti come back. Anyone would welcome those 2 blokes back.
Big ends.
So, I think it's going to be a season where a lot of sides, if you can keep the players on the park and fit, it'll go a long way to where you finish. And I know once we start getting a few blokes back, we'll start getting a bit of consistency. It's pretty hard to get consistency when you're making 4 and 5 changes each week.
Oh, it is.
So this week's a positive because we don't have to make a forced change this week. So
what about Jackson Calder's form at this stage?
Yeah, look, Jackson's had a terrific pre-season. Look, it wasn't a Ford's day last week. He hit up quite well last week. The 2 games before the pre-season games, he was in terrific form. Like he'd kicked 6 and 6. I think he
played Hastings and the Dolphins, didn't you? In
16 goals in 3 weeks. He'd probably would have liked to kick a few more, but I think he's coming along really well. He's got his hands back. Few more opportunities. He had a couple of opportunities last week, but when you consider the conditions, it was pretty hard for a forward.
And by the sounds of things, Simon, all your big timber are the ones that are going down. So then that puts
extra pressure.
on Jackson, you see.
Yeah, look, and Jackson's, he's relieved in the ruck too. Him and Dale Whelan were relieving in the rucks because, we're only going with one ruckman and had a forward relief. And Jackson done a bit of that. He gets up the ground well. He's a good athlete. He's had a ripper pre-season, and he should have a great day tomorrow. He should. It's going to be a good day by all reports. If it's anything
looks really good, mate.
If it's anything like today, mate, it's beautiful.
Beautiful day.
Simon did say he's got to get on the march to the 19th. So I know you got a big day ahead of you today. And
And our thirds are going along nicely. So probably the thing that I look at, our depth, Tuesday night, what do we have? 42 on the track, and some boys in rehab. So that's just the seniors and reserves.
That's wonderful numbers.
So I suppose we've come a fair way in those terms. And when we get a few back, we're going to have 15 blokes missing out in a game of footy.
But there's also the opportunity at this stage for maybe one or two of those kids to sort of press up and play senior football while you've got a few injuries at the moment.
Yeah, young Harry Bold, he's out of the thirds. He's played the 3 games. Lockie Gorka played the first game against Rosebud. So, we can expose a few of those kids.
Yeah,
Sounds good. And tomorrow against Mount Eliza, it's a good opportunity to play kids against kids because Mount Eliza...
Well, that's Troy. Yeah, Troy's made that known to everyone that he's going to push the kids through from Mount Eliza's perspective
and they've
as
got
well.
To.
So.
Yeah. Look, they've got a couple of old heads down back, which
Doherty and Gill and
Doherty and Tennant. I've seen them play a couple of times, and they take some good marks. They're good rebound players, so. We're going to really have to lower our eyes and make sure we hit up the forwards, and it'd be interesting to see, if any of the Casey players play or the Dolphin players play. So I think they've got quite a few VFL players. So whether they play or they don't.
A couple of new names to your club. The Bird Boys are doing very well at the moment.
Caleb was.
But they're not new because they've been a Mornington kids for.
Well, new to senior football.
Yeah, probably Broden. He's played. They played a bit last year.
Good goal sneaks, both of them.
Yeah, they are. I'm glad. I tell you, the one thing I'm glad at, because they're twins. I'm glad one's got short hair and one's got long hair now. I was sick of calling them the Birds.
Look, Goose, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, no, thanks, boys. Are you calling tomorrow, Vossi? No?
We're not actually. I'm actually heading up to Etihad Stadium tomorrow to see Hawthorn play North Melbourne. So looking forward to that. Actually,
yeah, be an interesting game. Big crowd.
Yeah, 15,000 people.
Well, I think tomorrow's going to be a big game, Neil, and
That's
I think
a big game for both clubs, mate.
Yeah, and I think that Goose will get his first win for the season tomorrow.
Okay, well,
I hope you're right, Blackers.
I'll back you in as well.
Yeah, I hope you're right too.
So
looking forward to it.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
No worries, boys. Thanks for having me.
Good boy, Simon.
We'll be back with more after this break. You're listening to the Rpp Footy Show. Okay, welcome back to the Rpp Footy Show, proudly brought to you by the Bendigo Bank. As you just heard, the senior coach of Mornington, Simon Goosey, previewing their massive game tomorrow, where they'll play host against old rivals Mount Eliza.
It was great to have the Goose in, wasn't it?
Well, I love the scoop from our new guru that he might be pulling the boots back on. Scoop McAvoy, exactly. So that was great. Piece of journalism there, where he said that he might even end up pulling the boots back on himself if they keep getting injuries the way they are.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, if Troy Shannon's listening today, he might go, I better play, and he'll put the boots on and line up on the Goose.
Gee, imagine that. Gee, that would be sensational.
Johnny Hines used to play on Goose when he was up at...
the old Mornington Edifale days.
Yeah.
Got an interesting stat on Johnny Hines too, and the interleague coach who's replaced him this year, Chris Holcomb,
Mm-hmm.
they both went in the draft at number 80.
Did they?
Yeah, did you know that?
No.
Silly. Okay.
Chris Holcomb went to Hawthorn.
Yeah, and then
John
he
Hines went to
played 4
Carlton.
games at Carlton.
Yes.
What number did he wear at Carlton? Do you know? Come on, Vossi, that's one for you. He'd have it for sure.
I
Anyway.
actually thought it might have been single figures, but I think I'm well off there.
No, it doesn't matter, mate. But we'll move into...
You don't know the answer, Neil.
I think it's 27. to be
Okay, well,
honest.
there you go.
Number 27.
Yeah,
a bit of
that's a
research.
wonderful research, Neil.
That was
Sensational.
draft pick number 80, both of them. Anyway,
If you bring some of that stuff every week, you'll be getting a phone call from Craig Hutchison.
I think it's the Dunstall show, like on the Sunday, where they have, the minutes, the numbers all line up, the 11th minute and the score on the side, 11 goals won and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Big games again today, fellas, in the Chisholm Division 1 competition. Your thoughts, Kev, on Bomb Beach playing host to Sorrento, mate?
Well, last year, Bomb Beach grand finals last year in Peninsula, and Sorrento obviously premiers in the P, and so we've already had the YC and Sorrento game, so it'll be a massive game today. Bomb Beach have obviously had the game overturned against Eden from round one and got the point. So
Had the mail right there last week.
Tony
didn't it,
Blackford,
Neil,
speaking of his sources, he was front and centre, mate. He had it well and truly covered when we were
Yes.
still waiting for the confirmation, and he said his sources. It's all over it.
Am I right in saying that Bomb Beach and Sorrento have not played since the 2004 grand final?
I'd say
Would
you'd
I,
be right.
would I be
Possibly.
right? Yeah, obviously.
Because after that year,
Bomb Beach went. It changed. The
changed.
competition changed.
Well, they beat him by
yes,
a point,
that's
wasn't
right.
it? It was only a point.
A point.
Because Pearson beat him the year before Bomb Beach, back-to-back
Yes.
legs. They're like grand finals or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Pearl...
Yeah, so you might be right. 2004 might have been the last time these two sides played.
It's a massive game.
Massive
Yeah,
game.
well, as I said, both sides have moved into the top five. Sorrento's won their last two games reasonably easily. So, Bomb Beach, as I say, with the luxury of having the round one game overturned, have now got 2 wins as well. So it'll be a massive game up there at Bomb Beach, and Sorrento will obviously want to try and continue on the winning form the way they're going, and try and start to assert some sort
It's a
of authority.
funny shit set up there, isn't it?
It's a
with
different place to play footy.
Yeah, with the club rooms right down the
Where you drive in there and you've
Yeah.
got the...
Can't get cars around the ground.
no.
Because they're all the grounds further.
And then there's all the other grounds. That's right.
And it seems like the ground goes forever.
Yeah.
But obviously there's some goals up there because it's all open space, and you've got the golf course on one side and the neighbouring houses on the other side.
Is the cricket pitch still a big hump in the middle too? Like, it used to be like a bit of a step in that ground.
Yeah, I think it's still a significant thing. But I'll just say this to the Sorrento people. 2 wins they've had the last 2 games. 2 wins they've had the last 2 games, and they've been playing at home. You're a great club, Sorrento. You've obviously followed your side all around the place, obviously to Rosebud, to Ryder, Dramana. Support your team at Bomb Beach today. Get there and have it fair dinkum crack. And obviously you're looking for 3 wins in a row. That's great. But it's an hour up the road. What's an hour up the road? Go up the freeway, for Christ's sake. Get to the game.
Well,
That's
there's
turn the show into a religious show, mate.
Michael Voss. He's telling them exactly how. That's the Sorrento boys you're talking to. They're faithful.
Absolutely.
Well, they bounced back last week. It was a good win for them, wasn't it?
Oh, wonderful win.
So, we were critical of them at the round 1 showing. But last week they bounced back, their stars, Chris Dawes, Luke Tapscott.
But the thing is...
was missing, sorry, and Lee Trevey was another star. So, Luke Tapscott.
No, Treby's retired.
Oh, sorry, Paul Holt, beg your pardon.
In
sorry.
some quarters, the supporters would be saying, it's too far to go. It's an hour up the road, for bloody hell's sake. Like, get there and just get there and support your side.
No disrespect to Hastings and Crib Point, kid, but it's an easier drive from Sorrento up Nepean Highway and turn off it there at Station Street than it is to go through the hills to Crib Point and to Hastings.
Yeah, well, you don't go through the hills. You take the Bentons Road turn off, mate. That's the quickest way to get from the peninsula to back to Hastings. But anyway, you people who don't know will probably go over the mountain. That's right. It's a bit slow. But
it'll be an interesting game.
I think it'll be a great game because Sorrento's played a young Mount Eliza team, and then Rosebud last week, who they've played last, know all about Rosebud type of thing. Now they're up against a side that's been pretty strong in Peninsula Division for a few years. Yeah. So they're up against all of a sudden probably a big-bodied side that's done well the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I think it'll be a fantastic game, and it'll give Sorrento another opportunity just to sort of really test how they are against what is a renowned good side in Peninsula Division.
And is there an obvious matchup for Trent Dennis Lane?
Oh, I think James Brigden will go to him. Mm-hmm. I think he's got the versatility and the leg speed. He did a really good pre-season up at Northern Blues before coming back to
Well, he was named the best
Sorrento.
player again last week. So
Yeah, I think he'll get the job on Dennis Lane today.
Brigden was good actually in the first game when everything was going wrong and there was a lot of balls going to defence. Brigden actually stood up in that
Did he?
first game
Yeah.
against YC.
And I think Tapscott comes back in today.
he does. Beg your pardon, that was my mistake there, buddy.
Yeah,
And
he'll come back in.
obviously, apologies there to the.
Was it the Rock Music Festival or something last week, wasn't it?
So he'll be back
Paul
into that
Holke.
side, and he'll add a lot of strength in their midfield.
Yes. Big.
And they got
terrific
league
game.
speed on the outside too, Sereno, with Gladman, Chad Harris, and Zach Burns, and Tompkins was named in their best last week. I really like him as a lead up forward.
So you're picking Sorrento? Is that your tip?
I think it'll be very hard for them to win at Bomb Beach because Bomb Beach play their ground really well, and I think for that reason, it's going to be hard for Sorrento to win there today.
It's
So
a
Bomb
unique
Beach.
ground. It's a unique
Yeah,
ground,
yeah.
Bomb Beach, because up one end of the ground there's absolutely nothing. You got the club rooms down to one end, and if you play up the other end, you got absolutely nothing. Like you got no atmosphere up the other end.
I did say that, didn't I?
Yeah, so
and
no, I'm
Kev
just
alluded- no,
I'm just
and
backing
Kev
up your point there,
alluded to that
Blackers.
as well.
Sometimes that's not undifferent at Sereno though, because all their supporters were inside on the Shardy
Yeah.
till 3/4 time. Then they come out, so
Yeah.
they're probably used to playing in front of nobody at one end of the ground.
Well,
Who's your
there you
tip
go.
then, Kev? Who's your tip?
I'm sticking with Sereno. I'm backing the Nepean team to have a fantastic showing this year.
I'm going Bomb Beach in a close one.
I'm with you two gentlemen.
Bomb
I'll
Beach
go
in
with
a
Bomb
close
Beach
one.
as well. So the home team. All right, fellas. Now, Seaford versus EDS. That's another cracking game. So
Yeah.
what about your thoughts on that?
Well, I
Blackers?
think Seaford would have been disappointed with what they produced 2 weeks ago against YC was outstanding. But then last week, I don't think they kicked a goal in the first half against Frankston. And even in those strong, windy conditions, I think that they only kicked their multiple goals in the third and fourth quarter. So I think that they would have been let down with in themselves.
Well, yeah, 4-4-28 they kicked. 7-12-54 to 4-4-28.
They were
Yeah.
1-3-9 at 3/4 time, and they were 29 points down at
Yeah, the game was over,
3/4
wasn't
time.
it?
Yeah.
I know they're back on their home ground, but it's not a home ground really because it's at the St Kilda facilities, and Edithvale I think will like those open spaces. They've got a very skillful side. Whether Brett Doyle comes back into that side or not, I'm not too sure. He's a wonderful lead up forward, big strong boy. He can play in the ruck as well, or he can play a keen defending role. I think Simon spoke about Seaford having a couple of injuries.
Yeah, he did.
Season-ending injuries. I think that Edithvale would be disappointed that they lost their points. I don't think they'll let another one slip,
Okay, so your tip's Edie.
even though it is at Seaford.
So Edithdale, Aspendale for
Yeah.
you, Blackers,
And for me,
and for Vossi.
And for me.
Okay, well I'll go with Seaford then. I'll try and even the balance
Yeah.
up there. So
Yeah, I just think that Edithvale will be one of the top two sides at the end of the year.
okay, well that's a fair call, mate. That makes logical sense. And our final game in Division 1, Pines will play host to Rosebud. So I think you'll find that that's going to be an interesting tussle as well.
Yeah, I think wonderful for Pines to get Bongetti and Aaron Edwards back. And, you know, Paddy was always saying it would be May, June that Aaron would come back, and he was keeping that
Well, that's a
in-house.
surprise, I've got to say.
Well, it was a surprise.
I am
wasn't it?
surprised that he's back so early. What about your thoughts there, Vossi, with Aaron Edwards walking back into... how's that for a handy get, mate? That's a big in, isn't it?
when you put Bongo and Aaron back in there, and look at the scoreline. Mount Eliza 16 shots to 7 at half time. Pines hung in there, but they got the job done in the second half, and they ran over Mount Eliza, and it's a great win to get. That's their first win for the season, and it's a massive win with leaving obviously Mornington the only side without a win. But I'm thinking that Pines will get the job done
At home.
this afternoon, and we do have one more game to talk about.
Beg your pardon, I do.
Frankston, the YC, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right there. I think Pines will hang on because there's a
Well, I think they will.
home ground advantage. And
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're obviously they're one of the better sides, and they were travelling on really well last year until Aaron got hurt. So now that he's back, they want to
Helps their structures out.
well, the Hendry brothers, as you said, Bongo back as well, and then you've got Aaron in the goal square.
It puts Guy Hendry as your third forward, and it stretches opposition sides Blackers.
Keegan and Sean Downey were really good for Rosebud last week, and obviously Greg Bentley, and they just got off let Sorrento off the hook. I think Sorrento, they got off to a pretty even start, and then Sorrento were able to kick 4 or 5 unanswered goals to really break the game open.
And you'd always expected them to bounce back because they're a proud club. Look at the history that Sorrento.
Oh, God, yeah.
And they would have been embarrassed with that first up performance.
Yeah, look, Sorrento at home, and like Kev said, against a side that they know better than anyone.
Yeah.
They were always going to win last week.
Yeah. Well, as you said the week before, that was the best game of footy you've seen on display. It was the second semi.
Oh, that
last
first
year.
half of football,
when you
I
spoke.
said last week, Kev, the first half of football, Sorrento and Rosebud in that second semi, it was 65 to 1 goal or something. The game was over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so. Pines, Rosebud and Pines, the grounds are probably similar type size grounds, so, but up there at Pines and with, Edwards back and, what's his name?
Bongo.
They're, I think, as you said, their structure's going to be so much better. And
Potts is an accumulator too. He just racks up the ball, the old 1-2, and
Potsy's a star, mate.
Yeah, and a good fella too.
So
Yeah.
I'll just go with Pines only because it's a Pines.
Yeah, I'll go with the Pines as well. Then we go to the final game. You're right there, Vossi. Battle for the Postcode Cup. We've got the Bombers taking on YCW. So
Where's this
Frankston
at?
versus Frankston.
Is this
Is it YC?
YC.
at YC?
YC.
Yeah,
Well,
look,
that was a good win last week to the Bombers.
Well,
They're in good form.
Frankston have travelled on really nicely, aren't they? They've close loss to Mount Eliza at the start, beat Mornington, and had a really good win last week. So they're going to be up and about, and they're going to be up for the challenge. They'll be looking forward to it.
That just shows how good a win that was for Mount Eliza first up, because Mount Eliza have obviously had some outs in the off season, got some really good young talent, and I think that Frankston has recruited really well, and they've got A-grade midfielders in Sutton, Fox, Boswood.
Yep.
Macari's doing the ruck work now. Reynolds didn't play the first 2 games, and he comes in and kicks 3.
Spindles, new addition.
Yeah, big Spindles, the microphone.
He kicked 3 goals against Mornington. That's Jared Grant we're referring to there.
Okay, yeah.
So, that's a massive win
The
as well.
Dolphins playing this weekend?
Yeah, the Dolphins are playing. So I don't know where YC was, but I noticed last week that Jake Lovett, was in
named best for the VFL.
in the best. So, and Kevin Lilac got in his first game of VFL football. So there's 2 definites that didn't play against played against Sorrento, LaFontaine. So they've got a lot of guys that are now playing VFL football.
Yeah, that
BJ Credlin was best on the
the
ground
new
last
guy
week.
they had against Sorrento from Footscray, he's probably at Footscray, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm not too
Oh,
sure.
is that Chick? What was his name? Number 40, was it? Was it Chick? I'm trying to think what his name is.
Yeah.
Macklin Ray will be still playing at YC. It's a really good day for footy today, and last week you guys were down at YC, and
Was it Chevellier? Was it Chevellier?
Could have been, it's his first game, and we didn't even know until Kyle Hutchinson said that he played. He just
I think it was Chevellier.
So.
Was it Chevalier?
yeah.
Number 38 or number 40?
Last year I'm not too sure, Neil.
Just looking for the record.
Last year in the practice games, YC and Frankston Bombers both played each other, and the Bombers were able to win that game. Great conditions for football. It'll be a real crackerjack game today. And I think Frankston Bombers' form has been outstanding, but YC at home are always very hard.
Big challenge.
Yeah.
This is the biggest challenge that Frankston will face, biggest challenge that any club will face, playing YCW at YCW.
Yeah.
They've had 2
John
great...
Coburn Oval.
John Coburn Oval have been two great wins that they've had, and this will be obviously a true indication as to where they are. YCW, I think, will win today, Blackers, but I think Frankston, this is their real ultimate test to sort of see right where they're at.
I think Frankston are the real Bombers. I think they are
Real deal.
They'll be right in the mix come finals time. But once again, it just depends on how their injuries go and how long these guys can sustain the pressure.
Did you mention how long since they've played for 4 points? As in,
well,
90,
so it'll be about 89.
89.
89,
yeah.
YC won the flag and came up. So, then Frankston won the flag in 91, didn't they?
Yeah, and then we went up. So we played in 91. We played at YC.
yeah, I'm just thinking
The next year,
so it's a while.
so 92, we played at YC.
Yeah.
I remember that. So it would be 92, I reckon.
You'll get your name in the record if you don't mention everything there, Blackers, so like I did last week.
Well, that David Glennie.
So it's been a while.
Remember the poison
Been a
pen?
while.
Yeah.
That was the point we were trying to make. So it's been a while, mate.
92.
So it's a long time ago.
YC in a close game.
Yeah, I'm sticking with YC because they're home, and I think Frankston's going really well.
Stone Cats are the proven side, obviously. They're the champion side, but if Frankston had pushed them today, then Frankston are legitimately a top 3 or 4 side.
Your thoughts on a tip?
Stone Cats.
You're going to tell us
Okay.
Frankston supporters to get to IC? Or?
It's not that far to go for him.
It's not that far to go. You could probably walk there, Frankston supporters.
Especially
You could probably Uber it too.
all the ones who live around Bruce Park.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll finish up for this week. What's been a massive show, the Rpp Footy Show.
I'm going to have a bit of a coffee because I had a massive night last night at the Grand Hotel. Got a bit seedy today. I went and saw an ACDC and a Thin Lizzy show at the Grand last
Whole
night.
lot of Rosies, that was it?
It's
Is it a whole lot of Rosie?
It is a whole lot of Rosie.
Yeah, they're supporting.
And Live and Dangerous Thin Lizzy. So it's a whole lot of Rosie's got a female singer. She's sensational.
Okay.
Same haircut.
She mainly does Bon Scott stuff. And the Thin Lizzy band are pretty much the same band that a Whole Lot of Rosie. So they're their own support band. But if you ever get a chance to see Live and Dangerous and a Whole Lot of Rosie, get along because they're fantastic. We had a great night last night.
How's the ears, mate?
Sorry?
The ears still ringing?
This one, mate. Yeah, it's all right.
It's a little bit drawn around the eyes there, Milesy. So
Yeah, well, it was, Grand Hotel, the pots aren't too dear, so it was
That's
a
why
big
he's
night.
got his sunglasses, mate.
Okay, well, on that note, until next week, you're listening and been watching the Rpp Footy Show. Good luck this afternoon. We hope your team wins. And until next week, take care.
Bank, we believe in doing big things for little people.
That's why we're helping build this year's Bendigo Bank
Kids Carnival for Telethon.